Your eyes open, and before your feet touch the floor, yesterday has already found you. The phone glows beside the bed. An unfinished obligation returns to memory. A difficult conversation begins again in your imagination. The body is still, but the mind is running. For some, it is fear. For others, worry, stress, disorder, or that tightening sense of anxiety that whispers, you are already behind. Now pause and examine the sequence. What receives your first attention? What receives your first words? What receives your first action? Those questions are not small, because whatever answers them begins shaping the posture from which you will meet everything else. If the first attention belongs to alarm, the first words may become complaint. If the first words surrender to panic, the first action may become reaction. And before purpose has been consulted, the day has already recruited you into its urgency. But hear this clearly. Peace does not have to wait until every circumstance improves. Peace is not the reward for finally having nothing difficult to face. It is the ordered inner condition from which you face what is difficult with clarity, faithfulness, and courage. The day may deliver the facts, but you must decide how those facts will be interpreted and answered. That is where the morning can be reclaimed. We are going to interrupt the automatic sequence. We will begin with stillness, not to hide from responsibility, but to remove confusion from the place where responsibility must be met. We will practice specific gratitude, not to deny what is burdensome, but to remember that the burden is not the whole truth. Then we will make 3 deliberate decisions: how to interpret what has happened, what responsibility deserves priority, and what purposeful first action will prove that purpose, not panic, is directing the day. Think about this, my friend. A peaceful ritual that never changes your next decision is incomplete. If stillness only postpones the phone call, if gratitude only softens the feeling while duty remains neglected, then the morning has comforted you without governing you. True peace prepares movement. It steadies your hands for service. It enables truthful engagement. It does not promise control over outcomes. It restores responsibility for your response. So before the messages, demands, and remembered problems tell you what to fear, ask a quieter and deeper question. Who is governing this morning? Because the first battle is not over everything the day may bring. It is over the inner government from which you will answer it. What receives first attention is not merely occupying a moment. It is entering through an opening. The morning is not an empty interval between sleep and responsibility. It is a gate. Through it come voices, interpretations, expectations, and priorities, each seeking permission to shape the way you will see the day. An unguarded gate admits whatever arrives earliest or shouts loudest. A guarded gate does not reject everything outside. It examines what should enter and in what order. That distinction matters. The first voice you hear is not necessarily the truest voice. It may be the voice of an old regret, an imagined outcome, an impatient request, or a schedule that appears impossible before it has even been considered. Yet, if that voice enters without examination, it often gains the first opportunity to organize everything that follows. Notice the hidden decision. You can reach for the phone to search for threats, or you can use that same phone deliberately after remembering your governing commitments. You can open the schedule and immediately submit to its pressure, or you can examine it from a settled posture and ask what faithfulness requires. The device is not the master. The sequence is the issue. The trouble begins when stimulus arrives before posture has been chosen. So audit the entrance. When you wake, do you rehearse yesterday, repeating what went wrong until an old event becomes a present atmosphere? Do you forecast disaster, treating a possibility as though it has already become reality? Do you surrender to other people's urgency, allowing every message to claim equal authority over your attention? These are not accusations against your character. They are clues about your sequence. And what has been learned as a sequence can be interrupted as a sequence. Let this principle become memorable. What enters first often receives the first opportunity to organize what follows. Not the right to organize it, not the wisdom to organize it, only the opportunity. You still possess the responsibility to examine what entered, to question the meaning attached to it, and to choose the posture from which you will respond. This will not control the message waiting for you. It will not remove the crowded schedule or guarantee an easy outcome. But it can change whether you meet those realities as a servant of panic or as a person governed by purpose. Now the question becomes practical. If you refuse to admit the noise immediately, what belongs in the brief space you have created? The first act of inner government is not hurried speech. It is not frantic activity. It is stillness. Then begin there. Sit upright. Let your feet find the floor. Release the phone from your hand and allow it to remain unanswered for a moment. Breathe naturally. You are not trying to manufacture a feeling, force the mind into silence, or pretend the pressure is gone. You are simply refusing to let internal hurry make the first decision. Name what is present. There may be concern about money, tension in a relationship, work that cannot be avoided, or a decision you would rather not make. Stillness does not require you to call these things small. It asks you to see them without surrendering your whole attention to them. This is the difference between denial and stillness. Denial refuses to look at the burden. Stillness looks at it without allowing it to speak as the only authority. Denial says, there is nothing to face. Stillness says, there is something to face, but I will not face it in confusion. Let that distinction settle within you. When water has been stirred, everything beneath it can appear distorted. The objects have not disappeared and they have not changed their nature. Agitation has changed how clearly they can be seen. When the movement settles, what is present becomes easier to distinguish. In the same way, your pause does not remove today's responsibilities. It allows their true shape, order, and weight to become more discernible. Now examine what you are experiencing. Ask slowly, what am I carrying? What is actually required today? What fear is demanding an answer before I have clarity? Do not rush to produce impressive answers. Let the questions expose what panic has mixed together. A real obligation may be present, but fear may have attached 5 imagined consequences to it. A necessary conversation may belong to today, but rehearsing every possible failure does not prepare you to have it. Stillness separates the work from the noise surrounding the work. And here is the test of genuine peace. Does it make you more available to truth, more ready to serve, more capable of making the necessary decision, more willing to do the work that faithfulness requires? If quietness makes you disappear from responsibility, it has become avoidance. But if it returns you to reality with ordered attention, then peace is doing its proper work. Peace is not permission to withdraw from the day. It is preparation to enter it rightly. Now that fear is no longer counting every thread at once, your attention needs something truthful to count. The next movement is gratitude. Then let gratitude fill the attention that stillness has cleared. But understand what gratitude is doing. It is not calling the burden good. It is not asking you to celebrate pain, approve injustice, or pretend uncertainty has disappeared. Gratitude simply refuses to let one difficult fact become the whole account of your life. Anxiety conducts a narrow inventory. It counts the threat, the delay, the absence, the possibility of loss. Then it counts them again. Gratitude widens the record. It also counts the life you still possess, the provision already received, the people who have stood with you, the mercy that met you before this morning, the opportunity still open, and the capacity that remains within you to answer today faithfully. The burden stays on the page. It just no longer occupies every line. So practice this specifically. Begin with gratitude for being present. You might say, thank you that I am here to meet this day. Thank you for breath, awareness, and another opportunity to respond. If those words do not fit your circumstances, do not repeat them mechanically. Name what is honestly true. Thank you that I have reached this moment. Thank you that I can pause before I proceed. Then remember something already received. It may be help, shelter, instruction, endurance, forgiveness, a meal, a friendship, or strength that carried you through a previous difficulty. Say thank you for what has already been given to me. I will not treat yesterday's provision as though it never happened. Now give thanks for one responsibility or opportunity still available. This may feel unusual because responsibility often appears first as pressure. Yet the ability to answer, serve, repair, learn, decide, or begin again is itself something to recognize. You might say, thank you that there is still a faithful response available to me. Thank you that I can take responsibility for what belongs to me today. Did you catch the movement? Gratitude for being present. Gratitude for what has been received. Gratitude for what can still be faithfully done. This is not vague positivity. Positivity may speak generally while avoiding what hurts. Truthful gratitude names the gift beside the difficulty. It can say, "This is painful, and I am not abandoned to helplessness. This is uncertain, and something good remains true. This is demanding, and I still possess a capacity to respond." There is a reason gratitude-centered morning messages resonate with people longing for peace. They answer the exhausting habit of seeing danger as the whole horizon. But resonance is not proof that every outcome will improve. Gratitude renews attention. It does not guarantee circumstances. Stillness has slowed the reaction. Gratitude has broadened the inventory. Now more of reality is visible, but one decisive question remains. What do these facts mean, and which meaning will govern your response? Once more of reality is visible, interpretation becomes the first of the three decisions that turn peace into practice. An event may arrive without your permission. A delay may occur. A message may remain unanswered. A difficult report may appear. You cannot always choose what enters the morning, but you can examine the meaning that tries to attach itself to what entered. Ask three questions, and ask them in this order. What is the fact? What is fear adding? What response is consistent with faith, truth, and responsibility? The order matters. If you begin with fear, fear will interpret the fact before truth has been consulted. If you begin with the fact, you create room to examine the assumption. Then, instead of reacting to a story you cannot verify, you can prepare an answer to the reality you actually possess. Think of the event as a letter. Before you have opened it, fear may write an alarming message across the envelope. Rejection, failure, abandonment, disaster. The writing is visible, so it feels authoritative. But it did not come from inside the letter. Fear placed it there. Your responsibility is not to throw the letter away or pretend it never arrived. Your responsibility is to distinguish its contents from the warning written around it. Suppose you sent an important message and received no reply. What is the fact? The message has not yet been answered. That is all you can presently observe. What is fear adding? They are deliberately ignoring me. I have offended them. The relationship is damaged. Something has gone wrong. Any of those possibilities may feel convincing, but feeling convincing does not make them establish truth. Silence is the fact. Rejection is an interpretation until evidence confirms it. Now, ask the third question. What response is consistent with faith, truth, and responsibility? Perhaps you wait for an appropriate period. Perhaps you send a respectful follow-up. Perhaps you proceed with another task that does not depend on the reply. The faithful response is not passivity. It is action disciplined by what is known rather than driven by what is imagined. Did you catch that? Faithful interpretation does not predict that the answer will be favorable. It does not promise that the burden will disappear or that every concern will prove unnecessary. It simply refuses to enthrone an unverified fear as truth. The outcome may still be difficult, but you will meet it without multiplying the difficulty through unsupported conclusions. This is why the language of burden and blessing, fear and faith speaks so deeply to anxious people. It reminds us that difficulty and remaining good can coexist, and that fear need not receive final authority over meaning. But reframing does not control external events. It governs the integrity of your response. Remember the pattern. Facts deserve attention. Assumptions require examination. Responsibilities require action. Now say it slowly. I will not deny the fact. I will not enthrone the fear. I will choose the next responsible response. But what difference does that interpretation make when the same morning is allowed to unfold in two different ways? Let us place these questions inside one ordinary scene and watch what follows. Let us be clear. This is a constructed illustration, not a testimony, a research finding, or a promised success story. We are holding the circumstances constant so we can observe what interpretation changes. The morning begins after poor sleep. An important message remains unanswered. The schedule is crowded. Then an urgent notification appears. In the first path, the notification is immediately treated as proof that the day is collapsing. The unanswered message becomes evidence of rejection. The crowded schedule becomes a verdict. I cannot handle this. One assumption produces another. Attention scatters. The person opens the urgent notice, abandons it for the silent conversation, glances at the schedule, returns to the notice, and completes nothing. When someone asks an innocent question, the answer is defensive because the mind is already arguing with dangers that have not been established. Activity increases, but direction disappears. Now rewind the same morning. Nothing outside has improved. The sleep was still poor. The reply has still not come. The schedule remains crowded. The notification is still urgent. But before responding, the person becomes still. Not for an hour, perhaps only long enough to stop internal hurry from choosing the day's posture. Then comes specific gratitude. Thank you that I can pause. Thank you for the strength that carried me before. Thank you that a responsible response is still available. Now the facts are separated from the fearful additions. Poor sleep means diminished energy, not certain failure. No reply means no reply, not proven rejection. A crowded schedule means several commitments require ordering, not that all of them must be answered simultaneously. An urgent notice deserves examination, not automatic surrender. Do you see what changed? Not the conditions, the governing meaning. The person can now read the notification carefully, speak without needless defensiveness, and consider the schedule without switching aimlessly between demands. The external problems remain unresolved. The reply may still be difficult. The schedule may still require sacrifice. The urgent matter may still demand action. Peace has not guaranteed a favorable ending. It has created a deliberate beginning. Stillness interrupts. Gratitude broadens. Interpretation clarifies. Yet another problem now appears. Several actions may be truthful and responsible. The notification may deserve attention. The unanswered message may warrant follow-up. A scheduled obligation may affect someone else. When legitimate duties compete, clarity alone can become organized hesitation. So the two paths converge on one decisive question. Among the responsibilities before you, which one should receive the first claim? The answer is not always the demand making the most noise. Urgency announces itself. It flashes, rings, interrupts, and insists that delay is dangerous. Importance often behaves differently. It may wait quietly in the person who needs your care, the promise you must keep, the work only you can complete, or the duty you have postponed long enough. This is the second practice. Give purpose the first claim. Morning prioritization does not mean completing an entire productivity system before breakfast. You are not required to organize every hour, solve every problem, or carry the whole day in your head. Prioritization is a moral and purposeful ranking of responsibilities. It asks not merely what can I accomplish, but what deserves my deliberate attention first. Begin with 3 questions. Who or what am I responsible for today? Pause there. Do not answer with everything that could possibly concern you. Name what has genuinely been entrusted to your care. A person may need your presence. A commitment may require your integrity. A necessary piece of work may depend upon your attention. Then ask, what must not be neglected? Some duties remain quiet precisely because they cannot force themselves into your morning. The person you promised to contact may not send another reminder. Preparation for service may not produce an alarm. A neglected responsibility may have become so familiar that you no longer feel its weight. Silence does not make it unimportant. Finally ask, which action would make the rest of the day more ordered or useful? Not easier in every respect. Not guaranteed to succeed. More ordered, more useful. Which responsibility, if honored first, would place you in a better position to serve, decide, communicate, or continue? Think of the difference between an alarm and a compass. An alarm tells you that something is loud or time sensitive. A compass tells you whether your movement is aligned. You need both kinds of information, but they do not answer the same question. If you obey every alarm without consulting direction, you can move quickly and still move away from what matters. Now, a genuine emergency may rightly become the priority. Purpose does not teach you to ignore immediate danger, urgent care, or a truly time-sensitive obligation. This practice exists to distinguish an emergency from mere noise, not to dismiss emergencies. The question is whether urgency has been examined or merely obeyed. Your priority may be to care for a person, complete necessary work, keep a commitment, prepare to serve, or address a duty you have neglected. Do not choose what sounds impressive. Choose what is truthful. Then put the decision into one sentence. Before I am pulled in every direction, I will give first deliberate attention to this responsibility. Say it clearly. Name the responsibility. Let one purpose-bearing duty outrank the surrounding noise. Gratitude restores the inventory. Interpretation clarifies meaning. Prioritization gives the clarified day an order. But be careful, my friend. A noble sentence can still become another form of delay. The priority has been named. Now, what visible movement will prove that you meant it? The evidence is not a stronger feeling. It is a beginning. Intention can point toward purpose, but action gives purpose a place in the day. You may sincerely value the responsibility. You may speak about it with conviction. You may even feel peaceful after naming it. Yet until the priority becomes movement, it remains outside the structure of the morning. This is the third practice. Move before the noise returns. A purposeful first action has three qualities. It is specific, proportionate, and observable. Specific means you know what you will do. Proportionate means the action fits the time, energy, and responsibility actually before you. Observable means that when it is done, you can honestly say, this has begun. Notice, the first action does not have to complete the responsibility. It must genuinely begin it. You may not finish the document, but you can write the first paragraph. You may not complete the preparation, but you can gather the needed materials. You may not resolve the relationship, but you can send the responsible message or begin the promised conversation. You may not solve the health concern, but you can schedule the appointment. You may not execute the entire project, but you can review the plan and identify the next required step. Do not confuse small with meaningless. A small, honest movement is stronger than a large, admired intention that never enters the day. Use this conversion formula. Name the priority, choose the smallest honest movement, and assign it the earliest protected moment. What is the priority? State it plainly. What action would prove it has begun? Make it concrete. When will that action receive protected attention? Give it a place before optional scrolling, casual browsing, or low-value responsiveness when circumstances permit. If you leave it for some time today, every interruption will compete for it. What receives no place is easily displaced. Think of the first action as a seed. The seed is not the harvest, and planting it does not guarantee the outcome you desire. Conditions may remain difficult. Other people may respond unpredictably. More work may be required than you expected. But the seed placed into the ground is different from the seed admired in your hand. One is intention, the other is a responsible beginning. Now keep this practice humane. Caregiving may interrupt the sequence. Safety may demand immediate attention. A genuine emergency may rightly receive the first movement. Purposeful action is not rigidity. It is responsible order. When circumstances change, examine them truthfully and act accordingly. And hear this friendly correction. Prayer must not become ceremony around known disobedience. If you continually pray for courage while postponing the conversation you know you must begin, the reset is unfinished. Prayer should prepare your heart to meet responsibility, not provide spiritual language for avoiding it. So make your declaration concise. My priority is, I will begin at. Until then, we'll wait. Fill in the blanks. Say the action. Name the moment. Identify the distraction that will not govern you. Peace has now done its morning work. It has not removed responsibility. It has released you into responsible movement. The next question is whether this ordered sequence can survive a morning that does not go according to plan. Now the sequence is complete. No new key is needed. What you need is an order you can remember when the morning is spacious, when it is crowded, and when it has already gone wrong. First, become still. Then speak specific gratitude. These two movements prepare the inner posture. Stillness interrupts confusion. Gratitude restores the fuller account. From that prepared place, practice the three decisions. Interpret what has happened. Choose the purpose-bearing priority and begin one visible action. Preparation, then decision. Stillness and gratitude, then interpretation, prioritization, and purposeful movement. Let the whole practice rest upon four questions. What is true? What is fear adding? What matters most? What will I begin now? On a spacious morning, you may sit longer with each movement. You may name several gifts. Examine your assumptions carefully, consider competing duties, and give protected attention to the action you have chosen. Do not hurry merely because the sequence can be brief. Let honest reflection take the room available to it. But a crowded morning does not cancel the practice. Compress it without corrupting it. Pause. Give thanks for one specific truth. Separate the observable fact from the fearful addition. Name the responsibility that deserves first attention. Begin the next honest action. The strength is not hidden in a magical number of minutes. It is found in preserving the order and telling yourself the truth. And what if you forget? What if you scroll first, answer sharply, surrender to urgency, or discover that anxiety has been directing you for half the morning? Do not turn one reactive moment into permission for a reactive day. Begin again at the next conscious moment. My friend, consistency does not mean proving that your feet never left the path. Consistency means recognizing where you are, turning toward the right direction, and returning as often as necessary. Shame says you failed this morning, so wait for tomorrow. Wisdom says you are awake now, return now. That is how a morning practice becomes a rule of life. It is remembered, adapted, resumed, and tested not by whether every circumstance became pleasant, but by what kind of person emerged to meet it. After the reset, are you more truthful about the facts? More ordered among competing demands? More prepared to serve the people and responsibilities entrusted to you? If not, examine where the sequence became avoidance. Peace that is genuine will make you available to reality, not absent from it. So do not postpone this discipline until life becomes quieter. Tomorrow morning is the appointment. Whether you wake with time or interruption, begin where you are. Become still. Give specific thanks. Interpret faithfully. Choose what matters most. Start one visible action. Now understanding must become speech. The sequence is in your hands. The final question is whether you will carry it into tomorrow with words, prayer, and commitment. Before you speak, become quiet once more. Identify the optional input you will delay tomorrow morning. Name the truthful gratitude you will offer. Name the responsibility that presently requires your attention, and choose the first visible action that will prove you have begun. Do not leave these as general intentions. Hold each one clearly before you. Now let us speak together. I will face what is true. I will question what fear adds. I will choose what purpose requires. I will begin the responsible work. Say it again within yourself, not as a promise that tomorrow will be easy, but as a commitment concerning who will govern your response. You are not declaring control over every circumstance. You are accepting stewardship of your attention, your interpretation, your priority, and your next action. Let us pray. God, thank you for bringing us to this moment with the ability to pause, to examine our thoughts, and to respond. Thank you for what has already sustained us, for the good that remains true, and for every honest opportunity to serve, repair, decide, and begin again. Grant us peace that does not hide from reality and clarity that does not distort it. Teach us to recognize the fact before accepting the fearful conclusion. Guard our attention from needless noise, our speech from anxious reaction, and our decisions from disorder. We dedicate to you what we notice, what we say, what we place first, and what we do next. Help us honor the people, promises, and work entrusted to us. Where courage is required, strengthen us to act. Where patience is required, steady us to wait responsibly. Where correction is required, make us willing to receive it. Let our stillness prepare us for service, our gratitude keep the full truth before us, and our actions demonstrate faithful purpose. We do not ask to escape the day. We ask to meet it with peace, clarity, honesty, and love. Amen. Now the commitment is simple. Tomorrow, before optional input enters your attention, pause. Become still. Speak the specific gratitude you have named. Ask what is true and what fear is adding. Choose the responsibility that deserves the first claim. Then begin the action you have already identified. Before the day tells you what to fear, choose what you will notice. Choose what you will thank God for. Choose what purpose requires. That is where peace becomes credible. Not in words alone, but in words joined to responsibility. Not in intention alone, but in intention joined to movement. Tomorrow morning, pause before the noise. Complete the reset. Begin the named work. Then be still and carry this commitment into the day.